have an unprecedented number of Black mayors leading major cities across the country. There has been no time like today, like the present. Those mayors want activation. We have a housing crisis that's disproportionately affecting Black and brown people. We have an opportunity, we within this ecosystem, we have all the pieces. When the mayor spoke at ULI and I gave my remarks and I addressed her, I go, Madam Mayor, I go, this room, there were about 300 plus folks in the room from around, and actually we have some folks from Toronto, so we could say internationally in the room. I said, this room is self-sustaining. Like, we have within that room, in that moment, we had Black developer. We had Daryl Carter. Daryl Carter's got a Vanith Capital Management. Daryl Carter's got a $5 billion investment management platform. We had the mayor. We had a couple. We had a former mayor in the room. We just had all of this brain trust, right, and all of this this ecosystem that could really make an impact and move the needle. And so and then we've got the next generation. They're ready. They want to make your daughter. She absolutely wants to get into the mix and make an impact. She is not interested, and I can say this universally because I hear from them all the time. I mean, they're not interested in following a 9-to-5 path.
No, they're not at all. Not at all. I would agree with you. So, here is my second question. What do you believe communities and the leaders within those communities need to do to bridge the equity gap in real estate? Which I think you're touching on that, is you're talking about the mayors and you're talking about the investors and the amount of economic power that you're seeing in these rooms. What do you believe? So how do we get there? How do we get to the result we're looking for?
Activate. And so that was a call to action. So when when the mayor and I were exchanging in the opening remarks, it was a call to action. The organizations that exist, that ecosystem that I speak of,
yes,
not enough. At this point, there's lightning in a bottle right now with all these Black mayors across the country. Hear me when I say this, right?
Yes.
There are developments happening in our communities, whether we participate or not. If we don't figure out, and we're doing it in LA, and LA is probably going to be, DC's always done it because DC is that kind of city, right? They've always been activated around their electeds and around their membership. AAREP DC has always been, embedded in economic development within the city.
Right.
LA, yeah, man, Black, we got a mayor that's interested and ready to activate with us. So we are doing a couple things and some stuff, I'm figuring out how I'm going to frame this here. Okay. There's opportunities for our developers. There's opportunities for, and so we can ensure as these, surplus land for, development goes out, we're there to ensure that our developers are participating in that. We can bring in the capital markets because we have folks within our organization, within our ecosystem that control capital deployment. Further to that, I mean, we've got architects, we've got general contractors, we've got property managers, we've got brokers. So we create a bench. So when these RFPs go out within these cities, AAREP chapters are seen as the kind of the go-to to ensure that equity's embedded, particularly because oftentimes these opportunities, because our communities are a bit of the historically overlooked, historically disinvested, they're hot right now. And so through a programmatic way, and this is what we're doing in LA, is ensuring that AAREP members are at the table, right? So we're hosting roundtables. Listen, I got a call last week from the mayor's office of the city of Long Beach, right? Like they want to, got Black mayors, they want to activate. So if it doesn't happen through our ecosystem, it happen in a programmatic way, because if it's not us, then who?
Right. So I like what you're saying. So they want to make sure that the AAREP members are engaged around the table at the decision-making level. So what are you seeing from that? Can you give any examples without, I know you probably can't talk too much detail, but can you give me some examples of what you're seeing? What city is progressing more forward in that? You know, you
Oh,
talked about DC, you talked about Atlanta, you talked about LA, New York. Tell me just a little bit there as well.
yeah, and I'm going to just speak. I'm not. I mean, and again, you know, I do lead the leaders of the AAREP national network, but I'm not going to speak on their cities. I'll give you an example of what we're doing in LA.
Okay.
When I say at the table, I mean economically. I mean feasting. I mean eating.
Mhm.
Right. I mean advising. There's a consultative piece to this, absolutely. And so, you know,
Right.
for example, ULI's spring meeting. ULI sponsors AAREP LA. We were so consultative in how anything that they did, anything that they had on their programming for fall meeting here in Los Angeles that represented South Los Angeles, Inglewood, Southeast Los Angeles, we absolutely advise them on how to show up in the communities, the wording. We just had a lot of collaboration with them, change their best practice. Now moving forward, as they go into cities, as they go into New York in fall, they will activate the local chapter there, which is actually, just to throw this out there, so CURE, the Council of Urban Real Estate, has its roots in AAREP. It is the original AAREP chapter. It's AAREP. That's why their logo looks the same. And so they rebranded about 10 years ago to open up the diversity. But the rest of the AAREP chapter said we're going to stay AAREP, which we're glad we did. But nevertheless, so now ULI will activate CURE when they show up in New York, because they understand that it's communities themselves are sensitive right now. We know that, right? We hear so much about gentrification, and not just some gentrification is necessary, it's investment, but the displacement piece. And so the communities have exposed nerve endings right now, right? So if you show up looking like you're on the white horse and you're coming in to tour Skid Row, and I shouldn't even say this because that was a big part of the conversation. Listen, that's 75% Black and brown people out there in their worst condition. Like be mindful of how you make moves. So that's an example of a consultative aspect of what we do.